So first I want to thank everybody. Chuck and Patricia have been, not just for putting this together, but of course helping us teach all year long. We couldn't do it with the whole TLT, without the whole TLT team. Then of course I want to thank my colleagues Bill Fowler and Zach Katsamatis in particular, but really the whole chemistry faculty who helped so much. We work with lots of graduate teaching assistants over the years. We've had scores of them. We've had hundreds and hundreds of undergraduate peer educators. Here's a picture of last fall's 321, Chem 321 crew of 70. And of course, we've had literally thousands of students, and we couldn't learn anything. We didn't have our students to teach us. So I want to thank all them. So what I want to do in this 15 minutes is to tell you about one aspect of one thing that we started doing relatively recently in the course. And it basically helps us do many of the things that Eric was just talking about. And that is basically turning the actual class time away from the idea of just me getting up here and talking and getting the students to actually do something. I was going to try to do a little bit more here today in terms of playing games, but I think it's best to not over-test the technology. But the way our classrooms are set up now, we're in the very nice Fry Hall, which is the new building on campus. I guess this is also Fry Hall in a different sense because he owns this building. But anyway, he gave us that building. He owns this one or something like that. Anyway, we use the lecture hall, of course, for 3 times a week, and we also use the learning center 1 time a week. So we have 3 55-minute periods in the one room, and we have 1 80-minute period in the learning center. It would actually be much better if it were the other way around, if we were in the lecture hall about once a week and we were in the learning center 3 times a week, but this is what we have. And of course the whole thing is indeed getting the students to do something. We've known this for years. We say if only we could get the students to do some work, they would learn this. And so the whole strategy is how to get them to work and do some problem solving. And so one of the things we've done, of course, is try to use technology the best we can, and we're constantly experimenting with the technology. We're always challenging the TLT people for something new. And one of the things that we're doing this particular year for the first time is we have our own custom software which we've put together. And one of the things which I really want to focus on is the idea of giving what we call a pre-lecture quiz. Now, you can say, well, pre-lecture quiz, what's the big deal? Well, it turns out it is a really big deal. It's because what you want is you want the students to come to class prepared. And you say, well, what's better to get them prepared than to give them a quiz ahead of time? Well, yeah, I've done that before, and I've done it in pieces of paper. I've done all kinds of things, and it's had mixed success. But this year, I think it's actually working. And I want to show you how it works. And there's a couple important messages. So I'm just going to go to the website where we have it set up. Actually, I want to go over here, and I got to log in. Okay, so here I'm actually at a quiz. This is a quiz from a couple weeks ago, and the students log in, and it's a multiple choice quiz. Well, what kind of questions do I ask? Well, first thing I ask questions about what's going to be covered in the next lecture. I will give them a reading assignment. If they do the reading assignment, usually, but not always, the information for answering the quiz is in the reading assignment. But the reading assignment is well, it's just multiple choice. And you can say, well, what good is a multiple choice question? Well, the key thing is not just multiple choice. The key part is what's beneath the multiple choice. And this is where it gets good, and it relates to some of the things that Eric was just talking about in the question session. Is that we can go in here and I can click on E, and now what I have are the explanations for the students have to answer multiple choice, and then they have to give an explanation. And it's the explanation which turns out is the secret to giving a good lecture. In this particular case, it doesn't even matter what the question is, all right? It turns out that this particular question was really covering 2 ideas. And the first idea, if they got the first idea correct, they would answer either E or F. Okay, and you see most of them indeed answered E or F. The second order idea, which was a non-obvious one, was almost an unfair question, because there was an effect which they all judged they all had to make a value about. So the first effect they all pretty much got right. The second effect was a more subtle one, and they had to make a judgment call. And so, in fact, it turns out F is the correct answer. It's the second best choice, but that's almost irrelevant because they're almost guessing. But that's fine. But the valuable thing is to read the explanations below. Because what you find when you're reading the explanations below is that people will answer correctly. I'll have no idea why they answered correctly. They'll give the answer, the explanation they give will be perhaps irrelevant. On the other hand, a lot of them are pretty good. A lot of them know why they wrote the correct answer, and they write down a good answer. You read the incorrect answers, and you'll see that some of those have very good ideas. They've just weighted factors slightly differently, and you get some good sense to where they're thinking. But the value of the whole thing is you get a good vision of where the class is, what you need to do in the lecture. And so the way that we physically do these things is I give a lecture at 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday. I get back to my office at 11. I do two things. First of all, I post the lecture I just gave, the PDF of the lecture I just gave. And I sit right down right then and I construct the questions for the following period. I never do it until the previous lecture is over because, first of all, I don't quite know where I'm going to be. And I also the quizzes don't just reflect the next lecture. They also sometimes I know that certain things are still hanging from this lecture I'm going to emphasize in the one that's going to come, and so I can guide the questions that way. Now, I'm not necessarily doing these absolutely fresh when I say I compose it right after the previous lecture, but I'm at least choosing the specific questions I put up. So a couple things we've learned. One is you absolutely do not want to grade these things. Okay? There's no indication of what the correct answer is whatsoever. And we have another quiz that's running parallel to these, which is a weekly quiz, and that one is actually graded. So once a student has submitted the quiz, they can submit it, and it's graded. It comes back and tells them what's correct and what's incorrect. Well, that turns out to be a terrible thing, all right? Because what happens is, surprise, surprise, every student in the class gets every question correct. All right, because the correct answers spread like wildfire throughout. The students know who the good students are. They text each other the answers. They go on the Facebook page for the class. They post the correct answers. There's no purpose to it whatsoever, really, other than it does they do think a little bit. I mean, it does still have a useful purpose. They think about the questions, but it doesn't tell you anything about what they know. So it may do them some good. It does me no good whatsoever. But this is really useful in terms of getting insight to it. They all want the answers at the end. Most of the questions we try to do in class. Okay, after when the class actually begins, I'll go back and I'll do one of the questions. Many of the questions in here in chemistry are not just multiple choice, but you're actually drawing a structure. And I'll show you one of these as well, as to how this works. Is that I come down. And actually, well, I don't want to take time to activate it right now, but I need to give Java 17 permissions to run, but I don't want to take the time to do it. But this is a written question where the students have a chemical drawing program which they open up. And this information right here is actually a computer notation of what the written structure is. And I can click on that. And the actual figure that the student has drawn will show up. But anyway, these problems are also very useful. I can see because they're actually drawing chemical structures. And typically, when I start a lecture, when the kids come into the classroom, one of these questions will be up on the screen, usually the same one or a close variant of the one I've given as the quiz. And then we'll spend the first few minutes of the class, we're just working a problem. Before I say anything else, we're working the problem. I'm walking around the room with the students. I have these peer educators, these undergraduate TAs, who are walking around the room as well. We're helping each other, the peer educators are helping the students are helping each other. We have the feature that, well, using their cell phone, they can submit answers through a message box. So sometimes we ask for an explanation. But also the camera is key. So they take their cell phone camera. This works well in Fry Hall because it's a nice, bright room. they take a picture of their answer, and using my tablet, I can watch the answers come in on my tablet, and I can choose one to show to the class, and then we hand the microphone to the students whose solution has been selected, and have them walk the rest of the class through the solution. And they're not always correct. What I usually try to do is to choose an answer which is mostly correct, but I often I'm choosing for various reasons. Sometimes it's just a matter of aesthetics. You have to choose one that's at least clear in the room, okay, so everybody can see it. So might not be the best answer, but it's the clearest answer for visual effects. But if it's a small mistake, that's fine, because generally students who've done 80% of the job with a comment or two from me can correct their error as they go along, and I think that makes them all that. The rest of the class usually kind of will appreciate the answers. Sometimes we get applause from a good answer, that type of thing. But the key thing is this interaction. But the quizzing has really changed my insight to lecturing completely, because concepts which I thought were difficult, sometimes I find out I don't have to do it at all, because everybody knows what's going on, and I can simply not cover that at all. Something which I thought was quite clear, I can see there's a lot of problems, and we have to rewind. Now, the key thing to doing this, though, is that the students know you're paying attention, because if you run these quizzes and you don't pay any attention to them, I think they'd stop. You've got to use them. You also got to make them relevant to the final exam, or the midterm exams and the final exam. And when I've had 2 midterms so far this term, and both midterms are, you can see, the questions are very similar, if not identical, to ones. I mean, chemistry, it's easy to write the identical question. You change one little group. It's the identical question, but it looks different. So the questions are very much like what we've asked in class, and the students can recognize that. So one of the complaints that I haven't been getting this year is that, that the exam was unclear, or this question was unfair or something. It's difficult to complain that a question is unfair when it's the same question that they were asked as a pre-lecture quiz, last Wednesday. And so that's all been going quite well. So our software package as a whole has a lot of features in it. We do our graded quizzes. We do these informal quizzes. There's a session in it for essentially we have a Twitter. We have basically a Twitter-like feed where the students can ask questions of each other and of me, which I'm implying I'm usually at home at night. I'm always looking at these things before I go to bed to see what comes up. There's a feature in there where the students can have there's a blog feature, although they're not using it very much yet. And there's other things built in there which we want to build on in the future. But this idea of using our own system for a dialogue has proved to be reasonably successful. And so that's really what I wanted to tell you about, and I'll be glad to answer any questions now, or I'm not quite sure what Patricia's format is. So thank you.